Welcome, everybody, back to the Triathlon Preview Show, episode 24 here.
Hey, everybody.
So last weekend, we ran a fantasy contest for WTS Cape Town, and we had a winner, Adam Campbell. So he won himself some Oral IV 25-pack.
Yep, it shipped out yesterday, so he will, I think he said, I'm ready to be super hydrated or something like that. So we'll see if he likes it.
So yeah, we're taking a weekend off from fantasy just so we can get caught up on a couple things, and the start lists aren't that amazing, but get ready. We have some big contests coming up between St. George, WTS races, Ironman Texas. All those races are in the next couple weeks, so we'll have some great big contests.
Yeah, there's for some good start lists coming up. I'm excited to take part in at least one of them.
So last week we gave picks for St. Anthony's Triathlon, and I think one of our listeners said we should go over and say how bad we did or good we did. So let's go over the winners first, I guess. Who are the winners of the race?
Okay, so on the men's side, it was Cam Dye, Ivan Tutikin, and Reeve Vonberg. And then on the women's side, we had Sarah Haskins, Alicia Kay, and Lauren Goss rounded out the podium. And Zach both picked Dye to win, so we were right there. And then it got a little bit trickier, I guess. O'Donnell and Butterfield, and then I had Appleton and O'Donnell. Sam finished a little bit further down. I think he was 8th, and then O'Donnell and Bud were both 4th and 5th. So I think they just got beat out by some speedier dudes on the day.
Yeah, we both had the win correct, and then both had O'Donnell on the podium, and he barely missed it. And then Butterfield was kind of close. So overall, not too bad, but yeah, definitely not on the good side.
Yeah. I guess we should have given the younger, kind of speedier ITU guys a little bit more street cred. And then on the women's side, Zach, you had Magali, Haskins, and Donner, and I had Haskins, Magali, and Kay. And we both were wrong by Magali. She, I think, went off course and didn't finish the race. But we both had Haskins there on the podium, and then I had Kay on the podium as well. We just missed Goss on there. She snuck on there. Mirinda was running her down.
Yeah, Mirinda, I guess Tio and what did Mirinda say on her Twitter? The Team Cardon both finished 4th. So,
yep, I'm sure they would have liked to have been on the podium, but it looked like a good race, all around. And I think people were super keyed, focus on the event. I think it was just a good hit out and make some money and support a group that's been around for 33 years. So there you go. We were kind of right. We weren't totally wrong.
We were pretty bad, but sure.
Well,
or at least
we don't race on we don't race on paper. So yeah, there we go.
All right. So let's get to the racing this weekend, and maybe we'll pick a couple more winners this weekend. So let's start with the lone Ironman race over in Australia this weekend.
Yeah, so Port Macquarie, site of the Ironman Australia, which has been around forever. In the last few years, it's kind of gotten, the field hasn't been quite as deep just with the whole points thing. This is only a 2,000 point race, but the field is looking pretty good for this year. First off, we can talk about the course. It's a 1-lap swim, and they have this weird thing in the middle where you have to get out and go over this bridge. And you do that at 1.7 kilometers in, and then again at 2.5. They call it a weir, W-E-I-R. So I don't know, that must be an Aussie thing, or I don't know what a weir is, but that's what happens. And then the bike is a 2-lap course along the coast. There's some smaller steep hills. I've seen pictures. And then the run is 4 laps kind of around the coast and the town of Port Macquarie, and there's a good hill on each loop, so that'll sting the legs a little bit, I'm sure, towards the end.
Yeah, so the start list, like you said, they're okay. I guess we could start with the men. We can just start with the. I think it was just announced today that Brad will not be racing. So he is out.
Oh, really? What happened?
Let me pull up his Twitter.
Oh, he tweeted it. Okay.
Yeah, he did. Pre-race
And now we
MRI
can.
scan, labral tear. So he'll be shooting for Canes in 6 weeks.
Oh, he's
Uh,
gonna do Karen's. Okay.
I have a labrum tear after quickly trying to avoid a dog attack halfway through my last long run before IM Oz. So that's he's out.
That and honestly, like tearing a labrum, that can take sometimes a little bit longer to get over. So hopefully he heals quickly. If not, he'll be kind of on the back foot as far as Kona qualification, because he didn't finish. I think he might have DNF'd Kona last year or finished way down. So he's going to have to get healthy quick. That stinks. Well, that definitely is the complexion of the race, because I figured he'd be up there. I mean, he was fifth in Melbourne last year. You have your returning champion and your second place in Paul Ambrose, the returning champion, and then Luke Bell. And then Tim Reed is there on the list. And I'm hoping that he didn't overtrain for this one and he's kind of ready to go. I think he wants to focus on Kona this year, but he's got to get a good Ironman, kind of underneath his cap. And then Josh Amberger, number 9. This is his first Ironman, and expect him to he'll probably lead out of the water, maybe with Fettel. And I think the question with Josh is like, how is he going to do pacing and nutrition wise? So I don't know. It'll definitely be seeing what he's going to do. It will be somewhat compelling, I think, because he could fall apart on the run. No offense.
Yeah, there's actually I think a couple of decent swimmers in this race, as far as I can tell. I mean, I think David's a pretty good swimmer too. Is correct?
Dave Dello, nah,
Yeah.
he's not that great.
Oh,
Um,
must.
you know, yeah, I mean, Brad would have been. Luke Bell's not bad, but I think Josh is probably your strongest swimmer for sure. I mean, he was short course ITU pack. He came out of the water first out of Alcatraz last year by like maybe 30 seconds to a minute. He took a good line, but I mean, everybody. So I think he'll definitely be your leader out of the water. The guy to look for, I think, is that Dougal Allen guy. Remember at Wanaka in New Zealand? He was
Yeah,
the one that did the really fast bike splits.
he's been biking very fast. I mean, I think they were both bike course records, or very close at least. I mean, he's definitely one to look for on the bike. He comes from pretty
Yeah, I
far
mean,
back on the swim, though, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
yeah. I just think I wonder, did those two efforts that close together take it out of his legs, or was he able to? I mean, because that was only, 7 weeks ago, but maybe it made him stronger. So and then, there's a bunch of people on here that we probably don't really know that well, who could do well.
Yeah,
So, I mean, Simon Cochran's been doing pretty well, I believe. You got Jim Lubinsky on there, from the United States. He's not a great swimmer, but, he could do well. Casey Munro. I mean, I think if Tim Reed has a solid day, I think he could probably take it, but that's the question. Will he have a solid day?
yeah. I'm interested to definitely watch Tim. He had a good race down in Panama. Uh, but he didn't have a great race in what am I thinking about?
Well, in Oceanside, he got second.
Oh
He had
yeah,
a
that's
great
right. Yeah,
race there. So I think he's definitely fit. And if he just didn't overdo it and get excited, he can do well. It's just in the past, like I think, didn't you email with him? He's like, I have a tendency to kind of like end up at a race like just fit but fatigued. So if he, kept his foot off the gas a little bit, he's definitely got the goods.
Yeah, I mean, looking at our list, that would be who would stick out in my mind would be Tim Reed and Paul Ambrose. Those would be, the top two that would stick out in my head. But Josh, you don't know what to expect out of him because this will definitely be his first time racing, but he's definitely should be watched.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if he puts it all together, I mean, he was second at Dubai in what was that, end of January. So talented guy. It's just doubling the distance is so much more than just doubling the distance. It's, by the end of it, it's going to come down to pacing and nutrition. You've seen people who are really great at 70.3s in their first few cracks at Ironmans. They kind of end up fading around mile 18 or 20. So if he can, keep that pacing and keep under control and not get too excited, could be good. And you can't look past Luke Bell. He's an experienced racer. He's had some bouts of injury. So if he's coming in good shape, I mean, he's someone who could do well too. I mean, he got second last year, so not bad.
And did Tim Reed do an Ironman earlier this year or late last year?
He did Western Australia, but he DNF'd.
That's right. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then how about the women's field? It's a little bit smaller. Michelle Bremer is your returning champion. I think she's a bit more talented athletes to deal with this year. Lisa Marangon has won here before, or maybe she got run down by Mel Hall, or she might have beat Mel Hallschild a couple years ago. So she's strong on the bike. So that's where she's going to make her move. And then it's more like, can she hold on during the run?
Yeah, and then you also have Gina Crawford. So I mean, I think she's definitely to be looked out for as far.
Yeah, she's had a really okay. So Maragon, she lost to Mel Hallschild by just about 2 minutes in 2004, and Mel just ran her down. But Lisa outbiked Mel on this course, so there you go. She's definitely a strong biker. I think Gina Crawford, she's had a really mediocre start to the year. She DNF'd at Wanaka with kind of some nutrition type issues. And then in Taupo, she was kind of like 8th or 9th thing and just not herself. So I don't know what's going on there. If she's gotten those issues sorted, I don't know if it's head or health. I don't know what it is. She's someone who could win, but it just, if she goes the way she's been going, I don't think she's as dangerous. I think Beth Gertis is going to be dangerous, especially once you get to the run, if people overbike, which they sometimes do. And Beth hasn't done an Ironman since Kona, which I think is a good break for her, since she basically did 6 in a year.
Yeah, I mean, it also could be how much she's still beat down, though. I mean, that takes a long time to get back from, but that's a long time too, though. So hopefully she's ready to go again, and basically she just needs to almost validate, correct?
Well, she was 15th in Kona, and the points drop off significantly after that. So that was a good place for her to finish. But, with how the women's qualifying goes, no, she needs to do well. She's going to go back. If you read our preview article, I chatted with her. She's going to go back to Ironman Switzerland as a defending champion. So she's got another Ironman up her sleeve. But I think a podium here would just really take the pressure off. And then she can go just race Switzerland and not have to be like, oh God, I got to get X number of points or whatever. I mean, I think she's completely capable of podium. I think she can win. So it's just a question of how, does she have that snap back in her legs at the end of the run? Because that's where she tends to get people, those last 6 to 10 miles when people start to fade, and her run is just really, really solid.
Okay, all right. Let's why don't we pick some winners for the female race then?
I'm gonna go with Beth, and then Michelle Bremer, and Lisa Marangon. I think Gina Crawford still might be on a little bit off the back. I don't know what's going on with her. So Gina's got to prove it to me this race. I hope she does. Great athlete. How about you?
So I'll go. I'm gonna go with Beth for the win, and then we'll go with Lisa, and then we'll go with Dimitri Lee Duke.
Oh, Dimity?
Yeah, Dimity
Lee
Lee
Duke?
Duke.
Marangon. Okay, so Gertis Marangon, Dimity Lee. That's a good pick. She's living in Phuket and training now. So hopefully she can do well. Yeah, that's not a bad pick. All right, we'll talk about it next week. All right, so Wildflower, the race I'm going to. Fun.
Yeah, let's look at that one. All right, well, give us a little information, of course, then, since you've raced this so many years.
Yeah, I think this is my 6th time. So, and this year we're still doing the swim, run, bike run thing. I know that the water level is up, so hopefully on the first run the stupid rain after run up is not quite as long. It's so freaking steep. So anyway, get out of the swim, you have to do a 2-mile run kind of across the dry lake bed and then T1B, I guess, and that's where you get your bike. And then same bike course kind of goes around the lake, starts out with some windy kind of narrow roads, then you do a really hard climb out of the park, and then it's rolling hills, a bit of a flatter section in the middle that can be windy, and it is supposed to be windy this weekend, so we'll see how that goes. And then come back around, up nasty grade, rolling hills back in onto the run. That's only 11 miles since they subtract it, so you only have to run 11. The end, huge hill at mile 5 that hikes, walks type thing. It's the most efficient way. And then rolling hills back, and then a mile basically straight down to the finish, which really finishes off your quads. But it's a great race. I love it. So.
All right, well, let's talk about the men, because I think we all know who's dominated this race recently is Jesse Thomas.
Yeah, everybody tells me we should call it like the Jesse Thomas Invitational or something.
But this year we have the course record holder coming back in Trenzo.
And I think somebody got sick of Jesse winning, and they're like, screw it, we're going to bring in the course record holder and see if that guy can take him down, because no one else has done it. So Terenzo's course record is kind of like talked about in triathlon lore. I mean, apparently it was just some crazy great performance. It was near the beginning of his career. He hadn't done that many half Ironmans, and he just came in to Wildflower and just kicked ass. And this was the time there wasn't really a competing race in and around the same weekend, because now you have St. George. So all the big people used to go there. The fields would be crazy stacked. So that was a huge win and kind of put Terenzo on the map. So, and I don't think he's been back, and he definitely has not done the new course. So it'll be interesting to see how he stacks up, because the course as it's set up now is swim, run, bike run is, I mean, that's right in Jesse's wheelhouse, because he can erase most, if not all, of the swim deficit on that first run. He just has to bury it, and then they all kind of not bike together, but he's a strong cyclist, but he doesn't have to play catch up, and then he runs well on the run. But he's getting ready for Ironman Lanzarote in a couple weeks. I think it's like May 21st weekend. So I'm wondering, you have big miles in his legs, is he going to be a little less sharp for the race? Because that hasn't been normal in the past.
Yeah, so I think Jesse's going to be ready for this one. I don't think that's a question. I think the question is the competition. I mean, Bazone's back, not back, but he's racing this year. But then, Matt Lieto, he had almost the exact same swim bike as Jesse did last year, but just couldn't match him on the running legs. Like you mentioned, Jesse just can, that first 2 miles on the run just gets Jesse back into the time, back into the mix of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year what you have is you're going to have a bigger group of a bunch of really good cyclists, because you have Matt Lieto, you're going to have Mikey Twilzik, you're going to have Jesse, you're going to have Terenzo, and I feel like the pace might be just a little more on. You're going to have Ben Collins, so I think the pace might be just higher on the bike. What's that going to do on the second run? Justin Dare is going to be there. I mean, he's won Ironman Boulder. He's a runner. So he'll kind of move back up after that on the first run. You got David, who loves to bike hard, although he's working with Purple Patch now. Maybe they're taking the emphasis off of that so he can run better.
He's also a great
you also
swimmer.
have
David is also a really good swimmer.
So he'll be out in front. I think he'll probably get caught maybe on that first run. You also have Jason Peters, who was, what did he get? Fourth or something in at Silverman, which is a tough course. That was his first half Ironman. Really good runner and cyclist, and so having that first run is going to really help him, and he'll definitely be ready to hit those hills. I mean, he always gets like Strava segments and stuff. I see that on Twitter, and him and Eric Lagerstrom go back and forth on things. So this is his first Wildflower, so I think he'll be ready to go too. I just think people might be a little bit more tired once they get to the second run this time. More tired than usual, which is hard because the course is tough.
Yeah, I definitely think the competition for Jesse is a little more stacked this year than in previous years.
Yeah, I think it's just going to soften everybody's legs up for the run, and we'll see kind of who can gut it out. I mean, Jesse, obviously, he's such a good runner that being on tired legs, it doesn't affect him quite as much as someone who's not a pure runner like him. But I think it'll be good. I mean, maybe Terenzo can push him or someone else, or I think it could be a closer race. That's all what right. I think.
Well, let's pick some podiums for this male race then, since we have course record holder versus 5-time champion going for his 6th. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. Going for his 6th. I'm gonna go with Jesse and Terenzo in 2nd, and Jason Peterson in 3rd. Pressure's on because I know Jason's probably listening to this.
Man. Let's go. I want to be different, so let's go Bazone.
Okay.
And then we're going to go with Jesse and Justin Dare.
Ooh, that's a good one. All right. We'll see. It'll be good.
All right. Well, let's not forget about the other race, because there is a female race that same day.
Yes. We start 5 minutes after the men at 8:05. Nice leisurely time. I love it. So you got your returning champ back, Liz Lyles. Heather Jackson has chosen to do St. George this year, so she will not be there. Laura Wassner is kind of your next highest place getter that's returning. She was 4th last year. And then I was 7th last year. Mackenzie Madison maybe was 10th last year. Pomeroy had a great Galveston race for her. So she was top 10, I believe, like 9th maybe. So, and she's another year more experienced, I guess, on this half Ironman distance. So I think she'll have a better race than she had last year. And then also I got a message, Lauren Goss, she's not on this original list, but she will be there. And, she races hard, and she's won at St. Croix, which is a hot, hilly Ironman, kind of like this one. The format's a little different, obviously, on this one, but she's tough. It's just, is she ready for the hills? Has she been kind of biking on them a lot. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. We all have to do the race on Saturday, which makes it exciting.
Yeah, she also just raced last weekend, didn't she?
Yeah, I like to think though, doing Olympic and then a half, it's not quite like doing a half and then an Olympic is tough because you have to, kind of try to get up to that next speed. But you can kind of view an Olympic race as like a speed work, the half Ironman. So if she doesn't do much in between, just gets all loosened up, I thought she'll be fine. I mean, she should be training a lot, so she should recover pretty quickly. And I mean, Liz Lyles had a slower start to the year, but I think she's probably building into this and coming in as the defending champion. Like you have a good feeling on the course, and I think she'll be strong. She loves the hills, and she's building into Ironman Brazil at the end of the month. So maybe it's good that she's had a slower start to the year because you can't be super fit all year long. So she might be dangerous this weekend. And, Laura Wassner too. She loves the hills. She's smaller stature. She's someone to watch out for too, I think.
Are any of these ladies on the St. George list?
Laurel is, and I am.
So, I mean, do you think Laurel is thinking about St. George, or is she going all in for this one, or both? Think that plays a factor?
I mean, she's been on the St. George list the last couple of, yeah, but they've fallen on this day. So she always had to choose Wildflower. And she's also Laurel is doing Brazil at the end of the month. She wants to qualify for Kona, so she needs to do well in Brazil. So I don't know if her plan is to like make these two races like two really hard workouts in preparation for Brazil, or if she's like trying to figure, like, I know she's definitely doing Wildflower. I don't know if it's going to be a wait and see thing on St. George. I'll talk to her and find out. My plan is that, yes, I'm doing both. I will be driving to Las Vegas after this race and hanging out with a friend and then going up to St. George. So should be good. But I'm not thinking about St. George this weekend. I'm all in for this one, and then I'll deal with St. George on May 7th.
Yeah, that's probably a better plan. Yeah, I mean, I would think Liz Lyles is going to be tuned in for this race and ready to go to try to defend her title.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Lauren Goss could definitely be dangerous. She's a good runner. I just, you wonder, has she done enough kind of really hard, long bike miles and be able to back up that second run, which is a super hilly course. It calls out the best runners. I mean, if you're not dialed, like you're going to have, I always at this race have a point where I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I can go anymore. And you just have to be prepared for that. So is she, the strength that's required for this race, like, is she ready for that?
Yeah. And like you mentioned,
she's tough. So, but
yeah, like you mentioned, this was a late ad for her. So whereas others on the start list have been focusing or have known this race was coming, so they might have done some specific training for this race, whereas this was a late ad for her. And so she might not have the specific Wildflower training, but she obviously has the, half Ironman training in.
Right. I mean, and sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? Like sometimes you get, okay, I got to bike every hill in the county because I got Wildflower coming up. Like, does that take some snap out of your legs? I mean, it might be good that she hasn't been preparing for this, and then she can just go hit it and deal with the soreness at the end of the event.
Yes, very true.
So we'll have to wait for race day. That's why we race.
All right. Well, let's we have a couple of other races, some 70.3s scattered across the world. So let's start in France. Let's see here. Who do we have on the start list for France? 70.3.
I mean, you got David McNamee, who was 11th in Kona. He's a young dude, strong swimmer, good runner. You got Romain Guillaume, who's, he's finished top 10 before. I think Victor Del Corral was on here, but he hasn't been that good. Or maybe he was
on another start list too. No, he's on this one and I think the other one.
Oh, okay. There he is, number 51. I mean, you have that number 50, Alberto Quesady, that Italian dude. So,
Kyle's on the list. Kyle Bunningham.
oh, Buckingham.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Number 9.
yeah. So I mean, Bernard Billard, he's good. He's racing at home. So uh, it'll be a good race. I mean, a lot of Europeans like that we don't quite know as well, but that's okay. I mean, it's a big list.
Yeah. The female list has some decent names too. The one I'm really interested in is number 77, Julia.
Yeah, she didn't have that great of a Kona, or maybe she didn't even start. Was she injured or something? Um, yeah, she's good. You got Ricardo Lisk on there. You have Tyne Deckers, who beat Sarah Haskins pretty handily, actually, in Puerto Rico. Really strong cyclist. And then you have Alexandra Tondor, who just was second at that Cannes International race that we previewed, I think, a couple weeks ago. So she's racing well as well, too.
Yeah, so it should be a decent race. I mean, should still be some fighting for that top spot. So let's move on to 70.3, whichever one, Mallorca.
Mallorca will stay in
There we go.
Europe. Oh yeah, and
Uh,
look, Bernard Billiard is on this list too, same as Victor Del Corral. So who knows where they're going to show up? I'm sure there's other overlaps as well.
yeah, the main thing I see on this one is Dreets and Tim Don stick out to me right away. Oh, and Bart.
Yeah, yeah, Bart and Timo Brock. I mean, he's older,
Oh, yep.
but he's definitely experienced and super strong bike run. He'll be a little bit behind out of the swim. Tim Don is getting ready for Brazil. He's your defending St. George champion, but is not going there. And then is going to do this race and then head over to Brazil. So I think Tim Don did his first Ironman in Mallorca. I think he might have won or was second. I can't remember. So maybe he's got good memories and wanted to do his prep for Brazil over there, or just wanted to go over there. Maybe they're giving him a good paycheck to go over. And then if you notice that Ivan Tutikin, who was just
Yeah, I
second,
just saw that.
yep, he's on there.
And
So,
then Dennis Shrivat, number
oh,
35, is on there too.
yeah. So, I mean, I think this list is a little bit stronger than the in France. Paul Matthews is on there.
But I
So
assume he won't be racing, right? He's racing IM Australia. Isn't he on that list?
the Paul Ambrose.
Oh, Paul Ambrose. Yep, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
My fault.
This is Paul Matthews. Don't they call him Barney or something?
Okay, moving on to the female list, though. Some decent names. Emma Pulley, Melanie McQuaid.
Yep. Melanie's not going to be racing. She broke her ankle and had surgery like a month ago.
Never mind.
So
take her off.
She's not racing. Yeah. Another, I mean, you have
Cave is
Laura
on this
Philippe.
list.
Yep, she's been over in France after the Cannes International. She stayed over there to train. Camilla Peterson is on the list. You'll also notice number 88, Nicholas Spierig is on the list. So this is a really good list. Yeah. Diana Reisler, Kristen Moeller. I mean, this list is really solid. So I think you're going to see a good race over here. You got Emma Plant, who I thought she'd do well in Monterey and she did not. So maybe she'll do better. But I think it's interesting that Nicola's on this list. I think, she had the crash at WTS Abu Dhabi, subsequent surgery on her hand. And maybe this is, Brett Sutton's way of getting her out there and getting her back on the race course, and just a solid aerobic probably day for her to get her training kick started.
Sophie Goose, Goss,
goes. Sophie goes. Yep.
She's racing.
Yeah. She needs to get some points, I believe, for Kona. So yeah, I mean, this will be a good race. I know Leanne has been doing a lot of training, so see how her legs respond. She won that race in Cannes, so she's in a good place. I think Camilla Peterson's dangerous. She did well in some North American racing, so that's a good one.
All right, well, let's move on to the last 70.3. This
Bustleton.
weekend, Bustleton, yes. So let's see here. I think the top name that sticks out to me on the mail list is Craig Alexander is racing again. He is definitely racing a lot of those Australian 70.3s.
Yeah, Australia kind of South Pacific type ones. Yeah, and he's doing well. So
Yeah.
he's got to be your favorite. You got Callum Millwards on this list. He had a great race in Taupo, was challenging for the win. Pete Jacobs, I think he's doing a little better, so we'll see if he's on the up and up. Um, and then on the women's side, you got Felissa Sheedy Ryan and Annabelle Luxford. I wonder if she's starting after she did South Africa. She was fifth there, kind of faded at the end. Kate Bevilacqua just did well at the Malaysia race, got third. So small list, but some good names. I think Felicity Sheedy Ryan, this might be one of her first 70.3s, so it'll be interesting to see how she goes.
Yep. So decent races all across the world in 70.3. So we should see how those go.
Yep. Yeah. So that's it. Until next week, St. George.
Yeah, next week should definitely have some good discussions with St. George. The start list is pretty long.
Yeah, it needs to be updated though. I've seen some things on Twitter like I don't think Hella Fredrickson is racing. She said something on Twitter was like, why don't they take me off the list when I tell them I'm not racing? So
yes,
I think
I did remember seeing that now.
yeah. So I'm sure they'll probably update that over the weekend and then we'll have a good start list after that.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening and join in next week.
Thanks everybody.